Relationship advice. I, 37 male, found out my girlfriend, 25 female, cheated on me with my son, 20 male, and I want to cut them both off, but they're begging me to forgive them both. I was a young dad. Me and my now late wife had my son before we were even 17. She sadly died suddenly at 22 not long after we got married, and I've been a single dad since. It's been tough, but I think up until this I did my best. I haven't had time to have any relationships really up until I met her. I threw myself into being a dad and concentrating on my business. I'm not saying I've been a monk, just not had anything serious. Never anyone serious enough to introduce my son to. But just under 3 years ago, I met AJ. I wasn't expecting it, but before long, I was head over heels. The first 6 months or so was more casual, but when we realized we loved each other, we made it official. I was even planning to ask her to marry me next month on her 26th birthday. I was even going to ask my son to be my best man. I didn't introduce them at first due to not being sure how he'd take it, so we waited a while. But after they met last year, we've all hung out and everything was all good. Granted, this year they haven't seen each other much, due to lockdown and him being at uni, but I didn't think anything of that. I could see her much thus last month due to lockdown again. However, I've noticed as the past couple of weeks have gone on, she's been a bit quiet and moody. I've asked her, and she added down to being overwhelmed. Likewise, I have noticed it in my son being a bit withdrawn, but I assumed he's been busy with uni. When I finally saw her again this weekend, I really noticed, so I called her out on it. She broke down and admitted she cheated on me. Just like that. I was shocked. So, I was trying to get it out of her and she admitted it was with my son. Just before lockdown started in November, she was out with her mates and she bumped into my son in the pub. They got pissed drunk, shared a taxi, and ended up drunk and effing. I basically threw her out there and then, saying I never want to see her again. She was begging me, pleading and making a scene and everything. I then asked my son to come over and I confronted him. He admitted it's true, it's a huge mistake and is begging me to forgive him. I've told him he needs to stay at someone's house, and I don't want to look at him anymore. He's at my mom's. I haven't told her what he did, but she knows it's serious seeing as how close we have always been. She's been ringing me, sending me emails, texting me begging for another chance, and so has my son. I've packed up her stuff that she left here and left it in her front garden in a bin bag. I've even chucked her Christmas presents I've got her too, let her enjoy them early. I'm absolutely distraught. They're the two people I loved most in the world. I wanted to marry her, maybe have kids, spend my life with her. Likewise, he was more than my son, he was my best friend. I sacrificed so much for him, to give him an amazing life. And they both stabbed me in the back in the worst way. I don't think I'll ever forgive them ever again. They're welcome to each other as far as I'm concerned. I feel so hurt. Edit, I forgot to add, I've got myself booked in at the Clap Clinic. If I can't trust her to not cheat on me once, who knows how many times she's done it. Is there any more to do here, Reddit? Or is that the best course of action, cut them off and move on? For everyone saying next time, there's going to be no next time. I'm done with women, love, relationships, everything. God, I miss my wife tonight. She should have been the one and only woman for me. They'll never make them like her again. Now for the top advice. I'm so sorry you have to live this. I really am. 1. Cut her off. She is not worthy of you. You sound like a really good man that anyone will be happy to spend the rest of her life with. 2. I know that you can't forgive your son, and you don't have to. You can tell him that even when he is still your son and you love him, he broke your trust and your relationship from now on is going to be different. You are his father, but no longer his friend. And you will be there, but at the moment with the less contact possible. He has to find his own place and work. 3. Please go to counseling. It's going to be good for you. 4. Talk to someone you are close with. Let your feeling out of your chest. Don't get drunk. Eat healthy and drink water. Sending you a hug. Thank you for this, very practical advice. I don't know if I'll ever want to be in another relationship though at this stage. I can't see myself trusting anyone again anytime soon. Get rid of girlfriend, stop supporting son. Tell grandma to, and let the little crap support himself. In a few years, I'm sure you'll want a relationship with your son, but you don't have to right now. He's an adult who made an adult choice and should have to live with the adult consequences. Hijacking the top comment. Just wanted to say that you seem like a really great person. Anyone else might have done something rash in that moment when you heard the truth, but you didn't. You will find someone just as great as you. I mean, there's 7 billion people on Earth. I'm sure someone great will find you. You'll have to tell your mom, considering your son is staying there and you don't intend to allow him back in your home. When you talk to her, keep it simple and basic. Tell her that your son and your girlfriend had intercourse, that you don't trust either of them anymore, that you may someday forgive your son but it will not be anytime soon, and you don't want to be pressured about it. If she doesn't want him staying with her indefinitely, then she is free to kick him out, but he is not allowed at your home ever again. I would also have one more talk with your son and tell him that he is your child and a part of you will always love him. That you don't wish him any ill will, but you cannot have him be part of your life, because his presence reminds you of his betrayal and the pain he's caused you. Tell him that anything you pay for of his is now his responsibility, that you will be canceling anything of his that is in your name. Personally, I would also tell him that maybe someday you will be able to stomach speaking to him again, but you aren't sure about that, and it will definitely never happen if he dates your now ex. As for the ex, tell her if she ever contacts you again in any way, you will file a report for harassment. Then block her everywhere. I know I need to and should tell her, but it breaks my heart to have to. She has absolutely doted on him ever since he was born. Looked after him for me while at school and everything. They're so close. It's absolutely going to break her heart. And my dad's too. I can't face him at the moment, but he is absolutely done. As you said, he's paying for all his own stuff from now on. He's lost his weekend job at my business too, his P45 is well on the way. Let him get a job and support himself. That's a great idea about reporting her. Thank you. Now for the next story. She told me tonight that she cheated back in March. Me, 28 male, her, 27 female, married 4 years this May, together about 4.5 years. No kids, 2 dogs, joint ownership of mortgaged house. Tonight, my wife engaged me in a conversation that was kind of a follow-up to one we had a couple weeks ago, wherein I told her that I've been struggling for a while with feelings of not having my intimate needs met. That conversation had gone well, and we agreed to work on things. Tonight, she said she's been thinking about that and said she just feels like she can't give what I need. When we married, we said the D word would never be in our vocabulary. We're both Christian and truly believed in living the God-instructed ways of being married, but she said she thinks we both deserve to be happy in this life, as we're both young and obviously not happy now. We've seen an employee assistance program counselor before, but I realized that wasn't the in-depth level of marriage counseling we obviously now needed, and I stated that and said we should first try real counseling like that to make sure we really feel the way we think we're feeling. She's been seeing a therapist on her own for issues from her past with abandonment and neglect by her mom, and I can't remember the details of the conversation here because this is where it happened, but she brought up her counseling and said, "Back in March I was feeling something and I slept with another guy. That night I told you I was going bowling with my friend from work up, the next town up from ours, but I went to see him. It was a mistake." She kind of went on with the original, just of the conversation for a minute while I had my head in my hands trying to register what I just heard. It was as if the fact that she cheated was a nonchalant matter of fact. I said, "You cheated on me?" She said yes. I said, "You had sex with another man?" She said yes. I asked who, and she said it was a person from her childhood town she knew. She had been talking to him for a couple of weeks beforehand, and then made the plans and went up. She said again that it was a mistake, and this is when I got angry. I growled, "Do not say it was a freaking mistake. You cheated on me. You knew what you were doing." She was speechless and I said, "I can't be here tonight." And I grabbed my keys and came to my best friend's, I call him my brother, house, and I've been here since, riding the waves of emotions hitting me and trying to comprehend this. She was pregnant in August, and had a miscarriage in October. I was so shaken with fury, I immediately worried the child wasn't mine, but she said she used protection and had had periods since, and I soon thought critically about the fact that she was only at 8 weeks when she miscarried. All that to say, we've been going through the trauma of that too. But we celebrated her pregnancy after she had cheated. She lived that lie with me. Sorry for the long wind. Right now, I just need some support on these initial trauma stages and how to handle my emotions. Now for the top advice. The way how casual she brought that up could mean that this wasn't her first rodeo. Nice Christian your wife is. I also wouldn't believe that it was only one time. She tested what would happen if she confessed to a little bit of her world of lies that she built up. Expect the worst, and then go from there. Take your time now and stay at your friend's place for as long as you can. Separate from her for the rest of the year and meet with a lawyer to find out what a divorce would look like for you. Talk to friends and family about what she did and ask them for support. Since it was so easy for her to lie to you all the time, expect that they didn't use the protection. Get tested for STDs right away. Please don't drink any alcohol or take substances, they won't make it easier and you need a clear head now, more than ever. Don't bottle your emotions up, cry when you were sad and punch a pillow when you were angry. In the new year then, make a decision on how you want to go on. You are worth so much more than to be treated this way. That's a good point, I'll plan to get tested ASAP. I really don't want to think this wasn't the first time, but you make a good point that it might not have been. I'll go forward with that in mind. Thankfully, I've never turned to the drink for other traumas, Marine Corps, deaths and horrible stuffs as a paramedic, so I don't plan to now, and also never touch these. I don't want to be subdued, I want the opposite, I want to experience life in its fullest capacity. I guess divorce should be back in your vocabulary. See a lawyer and serve her. You could have been on the hook raising another man's kid. It's hard to see right now, but you were lucky you don't have a kid with her, and the divorce should be pretty straightforward. 4 years in the scheme of things isn't that long. It will take a while to put all this behind you. Sorry buddy. Yeah, I'm already seeing the silver lining to the way this is happening. Thanks. Thank you all for the input so far. I want to add something to be clear. I have made sort of a decree for myself, even before I knew her, that there was no coming back from a woman cheating on me. Ironically, just a week or so ago, I watching a movie in the ambulance with my work partner and the main character got cheated on by his girl, and I said, if I ever got cheated on, that would be the end of it. Kind of makes me shiver to think about that. Now you know what to do. She will try everything to minimize it, but don't forget if that child was the affair partner's and it was born, she would have kept her mouth shut and made you believe you are the father. She betrayed her vows she made to you, God, and both of your families. She's not much of a Christian. Let God do the forgiving on this one. Divorce her and start over. You deserve a woman who treats you right. Good luck and I wish you healing, recovery, and peace. Edit. I always wondered what it felt like to write one of these edits saying, wow, this really blew up. But for real, it did. All of the replies are getting overwhelming to try to engage with them all, but know that I'm reading everything and I appreciate the crap out of everything. I'm sitting in the doc's office at the moment waiting to do STD testing. Lawyer consultations scheduled through the rest of the week. Therapy scheduled ASAP this Friday. Tonight, when she comes home, she'll hear that I never should have been the one to leave the house last night, and that she can pack her stuff and vacate for the time being. And I don't care where, ain't my problem now. Now for the last story. I suspect that I am not the father of both my kids. Where to go now? Me and my wife have known each other for 6 years and have been married for 4. I am 32 and she is 29 if that matters. I try to be a good parent, but sometimes I am overworked and some other times I just want time for myself to watch a series or play football with my mates. Sometimes my wife fights me over this absence from family duties, but I need to disconnect to keep sane. I know myself well enough by now. Of course, both my kids have everything they need, and we were able to put them to private schools and specialized classes to keep their education going despite the pandemic. We met each other because we were in the same class in our MBA in London, where we were both foreigners in a new country far from home. I have since then started my own business, and she works in a large firm in London. It has not always been smooth sailing, but we made it work both financially and we found each other. She understood that many days I could be with her for only a couple of minutes, as work was really getting busy and it was a challenge starting a small business ground up. 4 years ago, she got pregnant. We weren't really trying for a kid as we were both overworked, but when it happened, I was overjoyed and proposed her. My daughter was not expected or planned, but certainly she was welcomed when she was born. 2 years ago, my son was born. Same as, we weren't really trying as I was overworked and 1 kid was more than enough, but we welcomed him with open arms. Fast forward to October 2020. We were driving and had a car accident, not our fault. My youngest was severely injured, so we called an ambulance and got admitted in A&E. As it turns out, they had to run a battery of tests and found that my son has a blood condition, a form of thalassemia, that will eventually need management. They also tested my daughter, as she was injured too, and found the same. Coincidentally, the A&E doctor on shift is one of my closest friends, and he informed me regarding the condition, and told me there is nothing in the immediate to worry about. Some symptoms may show up later in their development, but they are manageable, and we got lucky. Long story short, in an abundance of caution, I got both my kids to a specialist. To our relief, we find that there is little chance that any serious problem will arise in the future. However, the doctor recommended us to get our blood tested, to understand if we are both carriers of the defective gene, in which case thalassemia could become really bad, and we shouldn't have a third child, or if just one of us is, in which case, little to worry about, yay. Well, I had the blood screen done, and I am not a carrier of the genetic disorder. My wife isn't either. I have consulted my doctor friend, and he has implied that there is a chance I am not the father, and the actual father is carrying and spreading the defective gene. I could take a paternity test, however, my friend told me that in the UK it would be challenging to do so without the explicit consent of the mother of the kids. He has seen similar cases and usually the labs recommend against it at this stage, or perform extensive checks prior to it, as the priority is to not disturb family equilibrium. My wife told me that the results were odd and she's sure the labs were mistaken. I have a text of her telling me to drop it, until we are back home and can get the tests done by her family doctor. I am eroded by doubts, and part of me wants to know the truth. Another part of me is scared of what I will find. How do I stay strong in this scenario? Should I press the issue, or drop it? I see both pros and cons in doing either. This is affecting my private and professional life. On one hand, I tell myself I will be around for them as I am their father, regardless of DNA. On the other hand, our family would be destroyed. I know myself, and I am an inch from selling everything and going to live on a boat for the rest of my days. Any advice is appreciated, thank you. Now for the top advice before reading the poster's little update. OP, I was tested as a kid to see if I was a genetic carrier of a blood disease and it came out negative. As an adult I got tested again and I came out positive as a carrier. Anomalies in lab tests do happen, maybe ask your wife to get tested again? That's encouraging, thanks. I mean, I may be the outlier here, but can you get one of the at-home DNA tests, and just do it and mail it off? It seems like this isn't something that should be weighing on you, while your wife pushes this off. This isn't really something one can just drop. Working in the medical field myself, yes, sometimes labs mess up, but this would have to be a pretty big oversight. Oh, I didn't know about those tests. We'll check them. This is a good suggestion. Definitively will help put my mind at rest. About the lab messing things up, I don't think this has actually happened. I also have high cholesterolemia, and they pick it in the tests. You know those online family finder genetics things, like Ancestry DNA? Buy a kit for yourself and your kid. Submit them, and if you are related, it'll tell you. You probably won't need parental consent from your wife. He might actually. Legally at least. The UK is really different about those rules. Little update, having seen all your messages, I have decided that I will take my kids and wife for a second round of tests in another lab. I am concerned about my situation but, introspectively, I am not doing the good of my kids, which should come first. They have a genetic issue, and we must be careful and assess the situation as best as we can. I have been told that it's important in any case, to know if they have just one broken gene or two of them, and it's also critical to know who gave the genes to them. This is regardless of the situation we are currently in. If these tests show that both of them are positive for a single gene, and me and my wife negative, well, I'll find a way to order a test online like you suggested. I have already booked an appointment for next week. I will not ask my wife to come with me for the test, I will simply tell her. Thank you everyone who spent some moments of their day coming with ideas and suggestions for me. I appreciate. And that's it for this video guys. If you have thoughts to share, leave a comment below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you